All right, let's dive in. Today we're taking a closer look at Amor Towles, specifically his new book, Table for Two: Stories of Fate and Reinvention. I've been digging through reviews, articles, even excerpts, and, well, it's a lot. That's why I'm so glad you're here to help us unpack it all. The thing is, the reviews are kind of all over the place. Some are calling it brilliant, others, not so much.
Well, I think that's what makes it exciting, right? I mean, mixed reviews usually mean a book is doing something interesting, something that pushes boundaries.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's a good sign. Before we really get into it, can you give us a quick overview of how the book's structured?
Of course, Table for Two is a collection of 6 short stories, all set in 2000s Manhattan. Plus, it has this novella called The Collector, which takes us back to 1930s Hollywood. It's all very glamorous, but with, a bit of a dark side, too.
Ooh, 2000s Manhattan and 1930s Hollywood, two very different vibes. I'm curious to see how Towles pulls that off. From what I've seen, even the negative reviews mention his beautiful writing style.
Oh, absolutely. His style is often compared to, like, F. Scott Fitzgerald. That elegant prose, the sharp social commentary,
Yeah.
that exploration of ambition and morality, that kind of thing.
So we can expect some gorgeous sentences even if we don't love everything that's happening in the story.
Exactly. There's one review that even praised Towles for his ability to, like, compress lifetimes into vignettes, which I thought was such a great way to put it.
Oh, that's good to hear. I appreciate an author who respects my time. All right, let's talk about those Manhattan stories. I was really drawn to The Ballad of Timothy Treacy, a washed-up pianist trying to, like, make a comeback. That sounds pretty interesting.
Oh, it is. And it really highlights that theme of transactional relationships that run throughout the book. You see it in Eve in Hollywood as well. The story with the studio secretary who's protecting this starlet from a scandal. But it's not just about secrets and favors, right? These characters are, like, trading parts of themselves, their integrity even, to get ahead, to climb that social ladder.
Yeah, you're right. It makes you think about those moments in life when we compromise something important to get what we want. It's interesting that both Timothy Treacy and Eve in Hollywood have these characters who are kind of on the fringes of their worlds, music and Hollywood.
Yeah, and that desperation to matter again, to regain their footing, it leads them to make these compromises. And you see that same desperation, but on a bigger scale, in The Collector, the novella.
Okay, let's talk about The Collector. I have to admit, I love anything old Hollywood, and the fact that it's based on a real socialite from that era, I'm hooked. What can you tell us about Evelyn Ross, the main character?
Well, Evelyn is really complex. Imagine being thrown into this world of beauty and fame and power, but also, like, a lot of darkness. She's ambitious, she's resourceful, but she's also vulnerable. She makes some questionable deals trying to save her reputation. It makes you wonder what she's really willing to sacrifice to stay in the game.
That makes me think about the whole idea of reinvention. Is that what she's doing? Like
Right.
trying to build a new version of herself,
Yeah.
even if it means compromising her values.
That's such a good question. And it's something that Towles explores throughout the entire book. What's the price of reinvention? What are we willing to give up for the life we want?
Ooh, those are some heavy questions. But it's also what makes The Collector so interesting. You get the glamour and the excitement of old Hollywood, but there's also this, like, psychological thriller aspect to it.
Exactly. And what I find so fascinating is that even though the novella and the short stories are set in these different worlds with different characters, they're all asking those same questions about ambition, compromise, and what our choices really cost us.
So he's showing us different sides of the same story, just in different settings. But here's where things get interesting. We've talked about the beautiful writing, the captivating settings, the characters, but we haven't really addressed the elephant in the room, those mixed reviews.
Oh, right. Some critics felt like the short stories weren't as captivating as the novella, like they were missing some of the emotional impact.
Yeah, and there were those critiques about Towles' elegant style actually creating a distance between the reader and the characters,
Yeah.
making her suffering feel almost curated, too perfect, too aesthetically pleasing.
Right. One reviewer even called it beautiful but bloodless.
It's an interesting critique, isn't it? It makes you wonder if that distance is a flaw or if it's something Towles is doing on purpose.
I'm leaning towards deliberate choice. It feels like he's making a statement about how we view suffering, especially in a world where everyone's obsessed with appearances. But you know what? I think we should probably dive into that a little more after we come back.
Definitely. There's so much more to unpack here.
That idea that their suffering being beautiful but bloodless really stuck with me. Do you think Towles is, like, commenting on how much we curate our own lives, presenting these perfect versions of ourselves? Oh, for sure. Especially when you think about the world of the collector. 1930s Hollywood was all about image, about creating these larger-than-life personas.
Exactly. And Evelyn Ross is like right in the middle of it all, making deals, trying to protect her reputation. What kind of deals are we even talking about here?
Well, you have to remember, in that era, a scandal could completely ruin you. Your career, your life, everything. Evelyn's caught between all these powerful people, each with their own agenda. She basically has to become this master manipulator just to survive.
Ooh, it's giving like dangerous liaisons vibes, all
Yeah,
that social maneuvering, the secrets, the drama.
totally. And that's where the whole collector thing comes in. There's this reclusive film director who's actually based on a real person. And he has this interesting hobby. He collects secrets, like compromising information on everyone in Hollywood.
Hold on, so this director is basically a real life gossip columnist, but with way more power. That's kind of terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. And Evelyn realizes she can use his collection to her advantage. She's not just a pawn in this game. She's using her intelligence, her wit, to try and control things.
I love that she's not just some damsel in distress. She's taking charge, even if it means getting her hands dirty. It makes you wonder, though, how far she's willing to go, what lines she'll cross to get what she wants.
And that goes back to that idea of reinvention, doesn't it? Is she really changing who she is? Or is this just another role she's playing, another mask she's wearing to survive?
That's what's so compelling about The Collector. You have all the glamour and intrigue, but there's also this tension, this sense that it could all fall apart at any moment.
Exactly. And Towles is so good at building that tension. The reviews all talk about how cinematic the details are. The way he captures 1930s Los Angeles. You can practically feel the velvet ropes, smell the cigarette smoke.
Okay, now I really need to read this. Speaking of captivating details, the reviews mentioned a twist at the end of the novella, something that makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Oh yeah, the ending definitely gets people talking. I don't want to give anything away, but I'll say it really drives home that theme of consequences. Every choice Evelyn makes, every deal she strikes, it all has an impact. And the final decision she faces, well, let's just say it's a tough one.
Ugh, you're killing me with the suspense. But I kind of like that Towles leaves some things open to interpretation and makes you think, what would you do in her situation?
Exactly. And it shows how complex these moral dilemmas are. There are no easy answers. No clear-cut good guys or bad guys.
You know, that reminds me of something you said earlier about the short stories maybe not being as emotionally powerful as the novella. Do you think that's because the situations aren't as dramatic? Or is there something else going on?
Hmm, that's a good question. Maybe it's because the short stories are more focused on those smaller compromises we make every day. The subtle ways we, like, chip away at ourselves to fit in or get ahead. Those choices might not be as explosive as the ones Evelyn faces, but they're still impactful in the long run.
You're right. It's like the short stories are showing us the little consequences, the gradual erosion of our values, while the novella is like the big picture, where those compromises lead to these huge life-altering decisions.
And maybe that's why the novella grabs people more. It's a more intense version of the same human drama that's happening in the short stories. But both forms are ultimately exploring those universal questions,
Yeah.
ambition, morality, what we're willing to do to get what we want.
Okay, so we've talked about those Manhattan stories. We've dived into The Collector. We've even tackled those mixed reviews. For someone who's never read Towles before, how would you sum up Table for Two?
I'd say it's a collection that really makes you think about the choices we make and the masks we wear in both big ways and small ways. It's about the allure of reinvention, the price of ambition, and that question of what we're willing to sacrifice to get a seat at the table.
And it does all of that with beautiful writing, compelling characters, and a touch of old Hollywood glamour. What's not to love?
Exactly. It's a book that stays with you long after you finish it.
Hmm.
It makes you question your own choices,
Yep.
your own desires, and maybe even the compromises you're making without realizing it.
That's what I love about a good deep dive. It makes you look at the world and yourself in a whole new way. It's funny, we talk about selling out like it's this big dramatic thing, but Table for Two makes it seem more like a series of smaller compromises. Those little things that add up over time.
Yeah, totally. It's not always like one big decision, more like a slow fade, a gradual shift in your values.
Right, exactly. Like in the Ballad of Timothy Treacy, the pianist, he doesn't just face this huge moral crisis. It's these little things he does. Choices that seem harmless at first, but they eventually wear him down.
Yeah, it's not even just about artistic integrity, right? It's about personal integrity. Those times when we I don't know, betray ourselves a little, to fit in, to make someone else happy, to achieve something.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people can relate to, especially these days. It's like we're constantly bombarded with images of perfect lives, this pressure to project a certain image.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, are we all just playing roles, building these personas that might not even be real?
It's almost as if Towles is saying, like, we're all performing on some level, whether it's a big stage like Evelyn Ross in The Collector,
Hmm.
or just, the everyday stages of our lives.
Hmm. That's an interesting way to think about it. And maybe that's why that whole beautiful but bloodless critique resonated with some people.
Mhm.
Maybe it reflects our own discomfort with realness, with the messiness of being human.
Maybe we're just so used to these curated versions of life in books, on social media, everywhere, that we're afraid to face the uglier parts.
Like we want our pain to be pretty, even if it means it's not authentic. It makes you wonder what Towles is really saying about this obsession with appearances. Is it a warning, a commentary, just an observation?
I think that's what makes Table for Two so great. It lets you decide. It sparks these conversations, makes you question things.
Totally. As we wrap up our deep dive here, I think that's what I want people to take away from it. Let this book be a jumping off point for you. What compromises have you made in your own life? What masks do you wear? What would you trade for the life you want?
Those are some big questions. And I think they really get to the heart of Table for Two. It's a book that makes you look inward, examine your own choices, your values.
Yeah, it reminds us that even in these glamorous settings and these fascinating stories, we're all still struggling with the same things: ambition, integrity, being true to ourselves.
It's a reminder that even the little choices matter. They shape our lives and the lives of those around us.
And maybe most importantly, it reminds us that figuring ourselves out is a lifelong process.
So well said. I think it's time for us to say goodbye to Table for Two and encourage everyone listening to go on their own journeys.
Yeah, pick up the book, dive into the stories, see what speaks to you.
And if you're feeling inspired, let us know what you think. We always love hearing from you. Until next time, keep diving deep.